on this price rise issue at the fag end of the session, on the discussion initiated by P. Karunakaran. Sir, I just heard Mr. Jagdambika Pal speak on Obama, China, Britain, without Japan, how the Japanese Prime Minister praised us without speaking on the price rise. I shall not cast my net so wide. All I'll say that he has said that inflation is under control. The fact is, led by a spike in food prices, especially pulses, consumer price index based inflation for November rose to 5.41% from 5% in October. So whereas general inflation may be under control, food inflation is rising, which is the cause of concern for common man. Sir, I think there is something wrong with the macro management of the economy, because worldwide commodity prices are falling. Oil prices have fallen. Brent crude is now being sold at less than $35 per barrel. So in India, every price should have fallen. Still we see the cost of some essential commodities rise, particularly pulses, and also sometimes onions, sometimes tomatoes, which touched 60 rupees a kg. The whole problem is that the government has not passed on the benefit of oil price fall to the consumer. Rather, the finance minister is taking the petroleum sector as a milch cow to get more excise out of the same. If we had lowered the price of petroleum products, this inflation would not have touched this level. This is wrong macroeconomic policy. Jagdambika Pal was eloquent on what Obama had said in praise, but may I say that Make in India still is a slogan. The investment in India that was expected has not taken a place. It's a dream which the dream marchers of BJP are selling, but it has not touched reality. So I shall confine that day when Karunakaranji started, Ramvilas Paswan mentioned that you not only mention what is wrong, you also suggest ways of improving the things. I shall therefore confine myself to the actual price rise which has mainly taken place in pulses. So the price of adhar, which is commonly used by people, rose to 200 rupees a kg. Now we have to remember that the retail and wholesale inflation, where food inflation in this fiscal was down, but the inflation in pulses is undesirable in a country where average Indian spends 5% of his food expenditure on pulses, because pulses is the only vegetable protein available to the poor people. Now, supply constraints due to lower production and higher demand due to rising incomes. More people are buying pulses in the rural areas, has led to this spike in prices. There has been 3 consecutive monsoon shocks affecting the Kharif season output, and weather disturbances in March 2015 affecting the Rabi crop. Global pulses prices are elevated and the rupee is weak, because the rupee has fallen to 67 rupees per dollar. That means it is costlier to import today. The macro management is again wrong. Why is the price of rupee falling while Obama is praising India? Sir, not only adhar, urad, moong and urad have been selling on the higher side at 112 and 152 per kg, where gram dal was retailing last month at 75 per kg. This is very high. And this year, it is expected that dal price will be the steepest in 10 years. Now, at this point, I must mention that why is the pulse price so high? Let me mention that there are two items. India has become self-sufficient in all items, food items in the last 10 years. Only two things we have imported. One is dal pulses, for which 18 to 25,000 crores are spent every year for import. And the other is edible oils, which we spend 30,000 crores. Now, whether government has any plans to improve the production of this thing. Unfortunately, it is true that there is problem about pulse production. In West Bengal, for instance, the farmers, they are spreading these dal seeds after the kharif crop has been harvested. So they do not do separate cultivation for dal. The other problem is that this dal is not seen as a commodity to be produced because there is a fixed procurement price for rice and wheat. So farmers, if they produce more rice and wheat, can get money through procurement prices. There is no proper mechanism for procurement of dal. So as a result of which also, dal is a leguminous crop. That means it does self-pollination. So it is somewhat difficult to increase the productivity of rice unless we really take to what Dr. Swaminathan had suggested, that let us build pulse villages. Villages which will only produce pulses. That has not been implemented, what Dr. Swaminathan had suggested. Sir, we had the green revolution in wheat. We have had a revolution in rice production. Today, 100 million tons of rice are produced in the country, nearly 100 million tons of wheat are produced in this country, which is why the government can give the whole thing in a food security system. But dal compared to that is about 15 million. We have not given enough attention to the cultivation of dal, if I may mention that. Now, let me come to Ramvilas Paswanji. What has the food ministry done after the dal prices started rising? They introduced zero import duty for dal. Also, they said we have set up a price stabilization fund at a cost of 500 crores. Also, they said government will import 500 metric tons of tur. Now, this is a drop in the ocean. Every year, roughly 3 to 5 million tons of pulse are imported. So, if you government imports only 5,000 metric tons, how is it going to solve the problem? Now, why the pulses prices have risen? Please do not mind my saying so, but there is a saying in the country that the political base of the BJP consists of traders in different cities. And whenever a BJP government is power, they think that it's a good opportunity to raise prices and make money. I know that Ramvilas ji does not belong to BJP, he belongs to the Lohia Jayaprakash variety of politics. But what can he do? He is alone in a big cabinet of BJP people. Why I am blaming that some traders are responsible for this? Please listen to me, sir. That what are the main places we import from? The biggest import center last year was Canada, followed by Australia, followed by Russia, and then followed by Myanmar, and then some African countries like Malawi. I was in Vancouver, Canada recently. It's true, Vancouver, that all this dal comes. But Vancouver is so far away that it takes a long time. As a result of which the import is never timely. There is some motivation because it was clear at the beginning of this year with the deficient monsoon that there will be shortage of dal. Actually, compared to 23 million tons of demand, our production will be around 17.2 million tons. So if we had imported in time, then it would not have happened. But problem is, Ramvilas ji does not have import in his hand. Import of dal is totally left to the private traders. And these people delay the import till the prices can rise further. So my suggestion is that import should be on time. Government should ensure that the import takes place in time. And then, sometimes foolishly, what happened, 6 ships landed in Mumbai port. Now Maharashtra has introduced a law that you cannot hold beyond 1.5 quintals of dal. So the ship stayed in Mumbai port for 15 days before the problem was resolved. In the meantime, the prices rose further. So I think that one major step would be to import on time, that too from countries which are closer to India, like Myanmar, like even Africa, Malawi. Then it will be, but now the idea should be to produce more pulses in this country. Make the farmers interested. But what is happening, sir, that the farmers are unwilling to grow pulses due to production and price risk, and also low and declining profitability. A high fluctuation in prices has meant that farmers are seldom sure of getting stable returns. This has led to large-scale substitution of area under pulses cultivation with other high-value crops, which give comparatively higher returns. Pulses are highly risk-prone because most of the production is rain-dependent. 85% of pulses are grown in areas where there is no irrigation. Barely 16% of the total area is covered by irrigation. Hence, the crop is highly vulnerable to monsoon shocks. So the government should have some plans to improve, but where will it do the planning? On the one hand, we want more agriculture production. On the other hand, Mr. Jaitley is cutting plan outlay on agriculture. What is the position? In 2013-14, agriculture budget was 17,788. In 2014-15, it was 11,531. So compared to 13-14 actuals, this year budget estimates are only 11,657. So it has come down substantially from 13-14. Unless you spend more on agriculture, how can you expect that we shall be self-sufficient in any crops? So lastly, sir, I will almost winding up my speech. All I wanted to say that in edible oil, sir, cotton, we had allowed GM or BT cotton. GM is genetically modified cotton. Now India is one of the biggest exporters of cotton. We have not introduced GM crops in other areas, neither pulses nor edible oils. I say by all means take all precautions so that they are not dangerous to either the land or the human being. But unless you introduce the modern technological crops, it is not possible to do. Last, sir, what has the minister insisted on? He said that let us, he instructed the states, he upload dehoding karo. Now, as I said, out of 17 million tons of production, how much has the dehoding yielded? Sir, you will be surprised to learn the total amount dehoded is only 1,33,000. So 17 million means what? 1 crore 70 lakh tons. Out of that, in dehoarding, we have discovered only 1,30,000 is the quantity seized. And you know the strange thing, sir. This quantity is lying in government godowns. Out of the 1,30,000 quantity seized in dehoarding, only 26,000 were disposed of. Rest is lying with the government. So what is the point of dehoarding if after dehoarding you are not able to distribute the stocks? So, sir, now the present problem in prices, apart from macroeconomic management, is led by rise in pulses prices and followed sometimes by onions, sometimes tomato, we start 60 rupees a kg. But my fear is, unless the government takes a positive policy on improving edible oil production, the edible oil prices on which, for which we are dependent on imports will also rise. So we are very concerned that the poor man, earlier he had rice and onions. Onions became costly, rice is cheap. Now with improvement in income, he took to pulses, lentils, because India large population is vegetarian. For them, pulses are the only protein. Now we are depriving people of India of this vegetable protein. We are, it has become a luxury rather than an essential thing to build up the bodies of our children. Even milk prices rose. So I would urge Ramvilas Paswanji that you must be a little firm on traders. Don't leave the whole trading to private traders, and ask the states follow it up for serious dehoarding operation and distribution of the quantities seized. Take quick policy decisions, because next year also there will be pulses shortage, so that we are able to import in time. With this, sir, I say that it's a serious situation and the government should rise. I'm sure that Mr. Paswan is doing his best, but maybe his hands are tied by economic policies of the government as a whole. But I do hope that this happens in the interest of the common people of the country. Thank you, sir.